in St Albans wasn't easy. Ed explains.
The only studio around is in a kind of neighbouring town run by this guy who was successful in Germany in the 80s in this like hair rock band. Lots of pictures in the halls of him surrounded by dry ice wearing spandex. A lot of... I think absolutely everything that's recorded ends up sounding like his band. They were called Hello. Maybe you can go and check them out in the recesses of the ether somewhere.
Hello. It's so good.
The studio was just full of porn mags, which is pretty unnerving. It just had like, I remember the day that I think we were recording, had a queue of like girls turning up to audition for like vocals on one of his tracks or something, which I just thought it's not the kind of recording environment I want to be involved in whatsoever.
No girls allowed.
Well, I mean, like, no, I think he made some horrible comment about, yeah, if you're sing into this, darling.
He was motioning towards his penis.
He made several horrible comments, like each one making less sense than the last. Yeah.
Oh wow, I have literally no idea why they didn't catch on. Anyway, having resurrected First Day Back, they kept writing to labels to help garner interest, and they wrote to one label in particular.
As I was getting more into house music and I was moving away from the whole kind of electronic-y, abstract-y realm of dance music, I wrote sort of a 12-inch of music and I sent it off to a label called Precinct Records. And the owner of Precinct was a guy called Jerry, or Red Jerry, who used to be a prog house legend, who ended up being our first manager of our band. And he released a 12-inch of my own music, but then I gave him a copy of, I think we recorded Photo Booth, and I gave it to him, and he was like, oh, this is amazing, we can really do something with this.
It soon became clear that a whole new world of decisions was opening up to them.
It was just like, yeah, no, we'll put out a 12-inch, you can do all the artwork yourself, you can do a clear vinyl, you can do all this stuff. I was like, wow. Like, just the idea of having like a physical object in our hands and saying this is our own release was just too much to like turn down. So yeah, we kind of put out the Photo Booth EP, and that's like the starting point, I think, of everything, like all the kind of record label attention, and yeah, kind of kicked off from that point, I think.
Even though Precinct was a small label with next to no budget, it was good for the band's work ethic to get stuck in, and they were heavily involved in making decisions right from the beginning.
I felt really grateful the fact that we could just put out kind of 10-inch records just on, and he would fund it, and he kind of had the connections to do that, and it was great to have this total DIY kind of aesthetic, just to do all the artwork and to put the record out and to produce it ourselves.
While on Precinct, they went into the studio and recorded what would become the lead track on the Photo Booth EP in 2006. It was an exciting time for them, as Ed remembers.
We wrote the song Photo Booth, and we realised that it was kind of completely different to all the other music that we'd written. It was like a pop song. It's kind of had a verse, a chorus, middle A, chorus, and it was quite conventional in that sense, but it kind of sounded really great.
We've used that formula to this day.
Yeah.
Well, absolutely, yeah.
I think it's a good formula.
Exactly.
Why would you want to screw with it? Yeah.
Exactly, I totally agree. I think I love songs with that kind of tight structure that don't mess around.
Don't F around, please.
It was around this time of recording Photo Booth that First Day Back, as they were still known, started to look around for a new identity.
We were leafing through just vinyl, trying to find any kind of words that we could grab onto and get something slightly better than First Day Back from, and came upon that Section 25 record, listened to it, checked that it wasn't a racist song or anything like that, and it was actually pretty good, and you know, whether we sounded like it or not didn't matter. It was just those two words sounded good, superficial as that.
If you're interested, this is that song by post-punk band Section 25 that Friendly Fires named themselves after. It's not the best, is it? But, you know, the memory still lives on. Through better music. By By the end of 2006, they had a new name, and they released the Photo Booth EP, which had caused ripples within the music industry. One of the first DJs to pick up on Friendly Fires was Radio 1's very own Rob da Bank.
So, in session tonight, Friendly Fires, still unsigned, can't believe it. Started playing them about 6 months ago, and
By June 2007, had booked them for their first radio session at Radio 1's Maida Vale studios.
hello, Rob da Bank here, a long-time member of the Friendly Fires Appreciation Society. Got dropped off the debut album by their then manager, who sort of said, you know, maybe this would be good for your label, Robbie, maybe it'd be good for the radio. I plumped for the radio and, just got right behind them right from the off. And, you know, just such a brilliant new take on kind of indie and rock music with that kind of dance edge, and I immediately sort of fell in love with it. It totally sums up everything that I love on my show.
The boys were pretty excited about this first taste of exposure, and of course the chance to record at the legendary Maida Vale studios, where everyone from the Beatles to Jimi Hendrix and even dear old Travie McCoy have played.
There's something very special about Maida Vale. I kind of liken it to playing in like a really nice sort of green room of a school or something like that. It's kind of got a really sort of homely sort of vibe about it.
It's got a nice, comfortable, oldie time vibe about it as well. All the walls are kind of covered in this lovely khaki canvas type material, and you see all these old kind of tape machines in the corner of the room. There's the engineer called Mitty, who at first I didn't hear what his name was, so I was calling him Richie all day long. I feel like a proper idiot, but if you're listening, I apologise for that, Richie. I mean, Mitty.
First session they did a Strobe, On Board and Skeleton in the session, which was in May 2007. I think 2 of those went on to be on the album, and yeah, absolute killers. What I am going to play for you though is the second track in session from our boys from St Albans and that eastern part of the country. Friendly Fires, unsigned as yet, got an EP coming out next week, I do believe. This is one of their brand new tracks, On Board. Check it out. Mixing up a bit of acid house with their guitars there. So the EP Cross the Line is out on the 11th of June next week. They're in session for us this morning. One more track to come.
Listening to Rob's show from 2007, he does make a very good point. How come Friendly Fires were making music like this, but as yet didn't have a full record deal? It's insane.
And the idea of signing a record deal was just such an implausible thing. So I thought, I know our music's good, but no one's paying attention. And like, kind of, I honestly thought that I'd never sign a record deal when I was at that age, just because I thought it was kind of a task that was too difficult to obtain. It sounds really weird, but I think
99.9% of bands never sign a record deal, do they? Probably, maybe not as small as that, but You know,
In fact, because
I have been looking it up. I've been researching that.
BBC Radio 1 Stories.
So we're still in conversation with the band backstage at the St Albans Arena at their homecoming gig. Ed Gibson has decided to give us a tour around the backstage area.
Right, this is Ed Gibson reporting for BBC. I'm just exiting the dressing room now. Door's been open for me, such is the way I demand these days. We're going to go up the steps from the dressing room, the access all areas. This is the kind of cold, reverberating corridor, the brick work reflecting your nervous words back into your own ears.